Hello, my lovelies! Welcome to Friday's Fireside Chat. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about my great idol, my hero, Dolly Parton. Michelle just shared in Facebook today that Dolly Parton and Dollywood are giving 100% tuition as well as fees and books for anyone who's working at Dollywood. Not just full-time, which normally is the case, or if you've been in a year, but for seasonal and part-time workers as well as the full-time. And that you are eligible for tuition from your first day there. Anything about Dolly Parton catches my eye because I have loved her since I was 11 years of age. I loved everything about her. I loved her glitz, her glamour, her music, her big voice. I loved her big hair. And believe me, to love Dolly Parton in the 80s wasn't cool when I was going to school because there was the likes of Duran Duran to compete with. But I think what I loved most about Dolly was the similarity of her story to mine. She, like me, was a little girl, one of 12 children, growing up poor, rural, with big dreams. And as I look back at my lifetime idolization of her, I think of the lessons that I have learned and that I have practiced as I look at her life. And probably the first would be that you can have a big dream, that you can come from a humble background, you can come from a background where maybe you're poor, your parents weren't rich, but you can have that big dream, you can follow it. And I am here to tell you that when you do follow the dream, you do the hard work, you get in there, you follow that dream, you become successful. The stepping stones are the obstacles. You're even more powerful when you get there than if you had started with a soft landing. You know, a story that I always remember about when I was little, which is my Dolly story. I just longed for shiny things. I think it's probably where my dedication to glitter comes from. I just wanted a little bit of glamour, which I had a very adequate, loving childhood, but there just wasn't much glitz there. And one time my older sister, she's 11 years older than me, so I think she was going off on some vacation, and she got this beautiful blue night dress, and it had these two little bows on it, and I don't know what came over me, but I got the scissors, I cut off the bows, and I put them in little slides and put them into my hair. And when it was discovered that I had taken the bows from her beautiful new night dress for her vacation, oh, I got in so much trouble. But I just remember that to this day because it was me wanting desperately, ahead of all my good sense, to have that bit of glamour in my life. And as you can see, I'm wearing my Dolly t-shirt. My son Oshin got me this for Christmas. I have Dolly in the front of my phone. I have Dolly on the back of my phone. So I just surround myself with things because she just makes me smile. She makes me happy. So another lesson that I learned from Dolly was just to be smart and appreciate your value. There's one story in her book, which I have back from when it was on tape, as well as the original book, where she talked about how Elvis wanted to record her song, which is I Will Always Love You. Now, can you imagine any singer, any songwriter, what a pleasure it was, what a privilege it was for Elvis to want to sing their song? But the only way that he would sing the song was if she sold him the publishing rights. And she had determined that she was never going to sell the publishing rights to any of her songs. And she didn't. She didn't let him sing the song, which broke her heart. But look, she held on to those publishing rights. And look what happened when Whitney Houston sang that song and what that meant to her. So appreciate our value. Don't let somebody who's maybe more successful, more powerful, intimidate us into giving up something that's valuable to us. Know your worth and know your value. Another huge lesson I have learned from Dolly, and there's, for those of you who are big fans too, and I know there are millions of us, there is a podcast series called Dolly Parton's America. It's a 10-part series. It's absolutely brilliant. It was done a couple of years ago by a writer who had gotten access to Dolly through his father, who was one of her doctors. So it's part interview, but part fairly academic analysis of her and who she is and why she is so beloved. And what really struck me about that series was how delicately and successfully she walks the line between all the varying forces in America. She stays non-political. In fact, there are courses taught at universities on Dollytics, how she so successfully navigates that line. And I love especially how divided we've been in these last few years, that she's able to stay neutral, appreciate all voices, side with no one in particular, and still manage to appreciate everyone. I know we need activists. I know we need some people to burn for a cause and make changes. But there are many of us who are just making noise and making enemies. So I love the fact that we can be neutral, we can embrace all sides of the aisle and go forward happily, as I say, seeing the lambs gambolling in the meadows, rather than looking to the darker forces that some believe are out there. So my last point, and this is getting back to the first point about Dolly giving that 100% tuition to those who work for her. And the biggest lesson for me is to give, to support, to go out there and find causes that you can give, as they say, from your time or your treasure or your resources. Every cause that I personally and through my law office have supported has given back to me more than I give them. And what I have found is that when you give things away from the goodness of your heart, support a cause that you can afford to when they cannot, it always comes back. So you give away bread, this is what we learned from Dolly, it comes back buttered. So thanks for listening, and I will see you again next week for our Friday Fireside Chat. Thanks.